Hello everyone. I am Sri Aravinda Krishnan Thyagarajan. I'm going to talk on minting mechanism for proof of stake blockchains. This is a joint work with Dominic Deuber, Nico Döttling, Bernardo Magri, and Giulio Malavolta. To briefly summarize what we actually do in this work, we identify certain issues with current day cryptocurrencies that are being viewed more as crypto assets, meaning that they are not used in day to day payments for certain reasons. Specifically, we try to address the issue of coin hoarding in proof of stake based blockchains. And we asked the question if we can have a minting mechanism for proof of stake blockchains that encourages users to make day to day payments, just like how you do with your fiat currency. To give a brief background on blockchains is a chain of blocks where each block contains a set of data points. And these data points are usually uploaded by users and they are publicly verifiable according to some predetermined verification rules. And the blocks are created by users through mechanisms known as proof of work, proof of stake, about which we will see in just a bit. In terms of security, we want that the blockchains be available for users to upload their data, and the blockchains must minimize the amount of adversarial blocks or adversarial data points that can be entered into the blockchain. And finally, we want immutability that says that once a data point is entered into this blockchain, it cannot be modified or removed or altered with. In terms of cryptocurrencies, we want these data points to be transactions where the transaction is of the form Alice pays 10 coins to Bob, and this transaction is actually signed by Alice to authorize the transaction. But where does this coin come from in a cryptocurrency? Usually, it comes from a mining reward where new coins are actually minted and introduced into the blockchain and the cryptocurrency system. And how are they done? They are usually mined in every block that is being proposed. And in contrast to normal payments where users transfer coins that they have to other users, here the newly minted coins are actually minted out of thin air. They don't exist in the system before. And the newly minted coins are usually assigned to the miner who mines this block and adds it to the chain. This also acts as an incentive for miners to mine the blocks, because if they mine a block and they add it to the blockchain, they end up maintaining the blockchain, and as incentive, they get new coins to do so. An alternative is what is called an initial coin offering, where all the coins are actually minted at the beginning of the system and the system has a fixed supply. So, whatever is minted at the beginning is just the supply that the system has. And this initially minted coins are distributed among some initial set of users, and then they can make payments with it. And there is no mining of new coins per block as we saw in the previous case. And the only incentive that block producers or block creators have is that of transaction fee that they can collect from the transactions that they include in their block. Now, how do these mining rewards or newly minting coins play along with consensus or the way these blocks are created? So, namely, take the case of proof of work, where the users have to solve a puzzle to create a block and thereby get the reward, which is the new coins. Here, to do so, the block creators or the miners have to perform some computational work, and whoever ends up solving this puzzle is considered as the winner of the reward. This mechanism is used in many popular cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Zcash, Monero, etc. The advantages of this approach is that these newly minted coins are actually an incentive for miners to perform the computational work. And this also prevents a Sybil attack, where the Sybil attack, in a simple term, is an adversary trying to spawn many identities and trying to propose many blocks. You want to prevent this. And usually, the proof of work, where computational work is required to propose the blocks, prevents this Sybil attack. This also ends up discouraging dishonest behavior or deviating from the honest behavior of the blockchain system. As disadvantage, you can see that it requires a huge amount of computational work to propose the blocks and maintain the blockchain. This invariably ends up having a hardware race among miners where each miner wants to beat the other miner in the system. And this results in the mining process being expensive and infeasible for regular users with regular machines. An alternative approach is that of proof of stake, where a user proves that he owns the stake in the currency and he is allowed to create a block and get the reward. Here, the stake is essentially the coins that the miner owns in the system, and the chance with which the user can propose the next block is directly proportional to the proportion of stake that the user has in the system. This mechanism is actually used in certain cryptocurrencies like Cardano, Algorand, and there is a proposal for Ethereum to move towards proof of stake in Ethereum 2.0. You can clearly see the advantages here are that there is no computational work required anymore, so there is no wastage of computational power and therefore no hardware race. And this also ends up preventing Sybil attack because now instead of doing computational work, the adversary is required to prove that he owns coins, which is not possible if he just owns many identities. He needs to prove he owns the coins. In terms of disadvantage, there is a problem of coin hoarding, which is the focus of this work. So, what is coin hoarding in proof of stake? Take the case of Alice owning 30 coins in a system that has a total of 100 coins. She has a chance or approximate chance of 30% of proposing the next block and getting the new coins as the mining reward. Take two scenarios where Alice wants to buy a TV from a merchant and the TV costs 10 coins. In the first scenario, the payment goes through. Alice pays 10 coins, gets the TV in return. This means that now Alice owns 20 coins and she has a 20% chance of winning the next reward. In the next scenario, Alice refuses to buy the TV, and if you see, she owns 30 coins now because she hasn't paid the merchant, and she has 30% chance of winning the next reward. Now, taking these two scenarios in mind, we can see that Alice actually prefers the second scenario because she has a better chance of winning the reward. And winning the reward in this case means that she gains more coins, right? And if it so happens that these coins are more valuable than a real world item like a TV, she would clearly prefer to gain these coins. You can see that this discourages Alice from making payments like you would do with your fiat currency. And Alice ends up hoarding these coins and never uses the coins that she owns in the hope that she improves her chance of winning the next reward. In the case of the ICOs, there is another issue where you have all the coins minted at the beginning of the chain and there's no minting per block. Here, there's the problem of deflation, where if over time the coins gain value, the users are not encouraged to lose these coins or make payments with these coins. They would rather prefer to keep it as an asset like they hold gold in today's scenario and never use it for payments. So this motivates us to ask the question if we can have minting mechanisms for proof of stake blockchains that is Sybil resistant, mitigates coin hoarding, and prevents any kind of a hardware race. Our contributions can be summarized as follows. We introduce the concept of utility preserving stake allocation, and we propose a minting mechanism based on waiting time auctions and formally show that it satisfies this utility preserving stake allocation property. We give a provably secure cryptographic protocol for the waiting time auction based on uh, 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 based on the above auction protocol and show how you can use it to mint coins in the blockchain. In fact, this is the first auction protocol on the blockchain that does not require a trusted auctioneer. And we give a proof of concept implementation that shows that our protocol is quite scalable in the sense that we can have thousands of bids included in a block while still having a large amount of space for other regular transactions of the system. So, what is utility preserving stake allocation? Intuitively, it is the transition from one stake allocation to another stake allocation where the user's utility does not decrease during this transition. More formally, consider there are n users and there is two stake distributions S and S prime, where the total amount of stakes in both these distributions is T. A transition from state distribution S to S prime is said to be utility preserving if for all users I, the utility of this user in S prime is greater than equal to the utility of this user I when his stake is in S. And you can clearly see that for this definition to be satisfied in case of the minting reward for a proof of stake blockchain, it incentivizes coin hoarding. To see this, a user I wants to ensure that his stake in S prime is greater than or equal to his stake in S for his utility to be satisfy this definition in this transition. But if he makes a payment, right, then his stake S prime decreases, and therefore his utility also decreases. And this basically discourages the user from making any sort of a payment and decreasing his stake during this transition. Okay, so what are waiting time auctions and how does this help? So waiting time auctions are like any other auction where there is a reward and there are three phases. There is the bidding phase where the users bid some values in a sealed bid. And in the reveal phase, they reveal their bids. And here the bids are time units. They can be hours, minutes, days, years, anything. And this auction is actually a first price style auction where the highest bidder in terms of the time units actually wins the auction. So here the user who bid 5 days is clearly the winner, but he only obtains the reward after he waits for 5 days. Okay? So he has to wait for the amount of time that he bid in the auction. So in the case of minting mechanism, the reward is actually the new coins. Any user in the blockchain can make the bids, and the winner obtains these new coins, but these new coins are locked until the time that he has bid in the auction. To look at the protocol more closely, we have the bidding phase that runs for some alpha set of blocks. You have a special transaction TX bid that is used to make these bids, and this transaction has a timed commitment C inside it, and this commitment holds the bid value. So what is a timed commitment? A timed commitment is a cryptographic commitment that can be opened by anyone after time t. And before time t, this commitment reveals no information about the bid. We ensure that this time t spawns through the bidding phase because you don't want anyone to open the bids during the bidding phase and adapt their bids accordingly. Our TX bid also offers a transaction fee just like regular transactions to prevent any kind of spamming attacks in the network. And we must ensure that these transaction bids are actually unlinkable to the bidder to prevent any kind of bid suppression attacks. Then we have the opening phase, which lasts for, say, beta blocks after the bidding phase has completed. And in this phase, the bidders reveal their bids through a special transaction like TX open. And the bids that are not opened by the bidders are opened by force opening the timed commitments that are included in these bids. And as incentive to force open these bids, which does require some computational work, we can have like a penalty fee that is included in these bid transactions that is transferred to the user who force opens these bids. We ensure that all the bids, either opened by the bidder or force opened by other users, are revealed during the opening phase. We then have the winner announcement phase, where We announce the bidding transaction with the highest bid as the winner of the auction phase. The new coins are minted and they are given to this bidder to the address that he specifies. And the bids are locked until the time of the bid that is in this bidding transaction. These three phases, that is the auction phase on a whole, are run periodically over, sequentially, so that at regular intervals, new coins are introduced into the system. To concretely instantiate our protocol, we can instantiate the timed commitments using the primitive of time lock puzzles that was proposed by Rivers, Shamir, and Wagner, uh, which enables a user to generate a puzzle and embed a solution inside this puzzle. And the property is that this puzzle can be solved only after time t. And this is based on the sequential squaring assumption in the RSA group. In fact, we can use the fully homomorphic time lock puzzles that was recently proposed basically last year that enables us to homomorphically compute over the puzzles and compute the largest bid homomorphically. Thereby, you end up requiring to solve just a single puzzle. In the naive scenario, if there are 100 bidders who didn't open their puzzles, you would have to solve 100 puzzles. But with fully homomorphic time lock puzzles, you can combine them into a single puzzle and end up obtaining the largest bid out of these 100 unopened bids. We we also require some kind of a proof of well-formedness of bits that are given by succinct non-interactive arguments. This is to ensure that the users who force open the bits do not end up wasting their computational power if the bids are malformed or if the timed commitment is malformed. So you want to ensure that the bids are correctly formed and they can be correctly force opened if necessary. In terms of properties, you can see that our to see why our protocol satisfies Sybil resistance. Take the case of a user wanting to make multiple bids and trying to win, have a better chance of winning the auction. But because our auction is a first price style auction, the highest bid, which is the 11 days, is clearly the winner, and rest of the bids are simply not considered. The second issue is we also prevent the problem of denial of coin creation, where a user bids an arbitrarily large amount of time and thereby, not creating the coin for the system. This can be prevented if each of these bidders includes a small amount of a participation token or a bidding fee Q in these bidding transactions. We make sure that all the bidders except the winner get this participation token immediately after the auction phase or the reveal phase, in fact, and the winner gets this participation token or the bidding fee only along with his reward, which is after waiting, right? So this discourages users from bidding arbitrarily large amount of time because they end up locking. If they end up winning the auction, they end up locking this bidding token for that amount of time, right? Maybe the coin doesn't even survive until then, so they end up burning their coin. Finally, as an added bonus, we have an auction system where we do not require a trusted auctioneer. Notice that the bids are revealed by the bidders during the reveal phase, or the time commitments of the unopened bids are force opened in this reveal phase, right? And we also have the penalty fee incentive for force opening these bids. This ensures that any bidder can in fact force open the bids, and usually it can be done by users who hope that they would win the auction, so they can take the puzzles, solve them, and try to announce the winner of the auction. But we make sure that all the bids are opened and they are publicly verifiable against the bids that are made during the bidding phase. For formal, I'm skipping a lot of formal details here. I would refer you to our paper. In conclusion, we are the first to analyze the minting mechanisms for a proof of stake blockchain. We end up giving a novel waiting time auction based mechanism for a proof of stake blockchain that satisfies Sybil resistance. It mitigates hoarding and enables users to make day-to-day payments, because now they don't need to hold their entire stake for winning the auction. They only need a small participation token. Thereby they can use the rest of their amounts to make payments. Also, we give the first provably secure auction protocol on a blockchain that does not require a trusted auctioneer. In terms of open problems, maybe there is a rigorous analysis possible that considers real-world factors into the utility analysis. Note that we only consider the stake and the coins in the system in our utility analysis. And maybe there are alternate mechanisms for proof of stake, minting in proof of stake that has stronger properties. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and be healthy.